Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be all about my eyebrow microblading experience. My eyebrows have been a struggle for most of my life. I have very fine brows, very light brows. I am a natural blonde. When I was little, my hair was white blonde, just white blonde hair, no brows to speak of, white lashes. It wasn't until I was about maybe 13 or 14 that my hair started going into that kind of dishwater blonde area, but my brows never ever had any color to them. So I don't even remember when it was when I learned to even fill in my brows, because it just wasn't a thing many years ago. So anyway, over the years, of course, there were people that suggested to me that I either get my brows tattooed or at least get them tinted. And the reason why I never chose either of those was, number one, the brow tattooing, I was just so put off by it, basically because I had seen so much bad tattoo work as a makeup artist and seeing so many different clients. And those that did have tattoos, they had faded into this horrible green color or blue color, and the clients would tell me that they regretted it. And then as far as the brow tinting goes, I did try that once many years ago, and basically it just didn't last very long. And it only took care of the darkening of the brow hair. It didn't take care of, defining a shape or anything like that, because my brow shape was also kind of weird. And brows in general are just asymmetrical, and a lot of us have, including myself, have a hard time coming to terms with that. We want them to be perfectly symmetrical. So even though I tell my clients that saying brows are sisters, not twins, it's hard even for me to take my own advice and try not to make them perfectly symmetrical. But so anyway, back to the tinting. The tinting, it didn't last on me because I do use so many skincare items that contain glycolic acid, salicylic acid, and just as those things will exfoliate the dead skin cells on your face, they also exfoliate, color from your brows. So even though I would try to avoid the eye area when I would wash my face and put on those things, it didn't matter. Just tinting just didn't last on me at all. So over the years, I've just gotten really used to just filling in my brows. There are so many great brow products out there now. I'm pretty loyal to Anastasia Beverly Hills, like the Brow Wiz and the Dip Brow. I've tried others, but I just always tend to go back to those products. So about 3 or 4 months ago, I think, is when I started seeing posts on Instagram that were referring to this microblading technique and showing these before and afters that looked pretty amazing. And if you're not familiar with microblading, what it is the person doing the procedure, I don't know what other way to call it, she or he will take this little blade and make little brow hair strokes on your brow, depositing a semi-permanent pigment. And when I say semi-permanent, I mean it's supposed to last anywhere from 18 to 24 months. At least that's what I'm told, that it will just kind of keep fading, and then you either get it redone or you don't. So what I liked about that was that it wasn't permanent like a tattoo, wherein you had to just kind of either get it touched up and you could potentially be left with a shape or a color that you didn't want for a really long time. So I contacted a couple of people whose work I really thought was great on Instagram. I don't know how we ever found services before Instagram and Yelp, but it is so helpful. And I contacted a couple of people, one whose work looked absolutely amazing, but she was located in St. George, Utah, which is about an hour and a half away from where I live, which isn't bad, and she was like a trainer for microblading. I mean, she just had all the credentials, and I contacted her, and she was actually going to give me a really nice rate if I, promoted her page on my Instagram. But I just really didn't want to drive an hour and a half, because you have to do it twice. Most people will go one time and then about 6 weeks later, at least 6 weeks later, for a touch-up. So I just didn't want to have to drive the hour and a half twice. So I thought, oh God, there has to be somebody local that's going to be just as good. So I did find somebody, and her work also on Instagram, and I'll put all the information in the description box. Her work looked fantastic, and I contacted her and she was super sweet, and I went to her about 8 weeks ago now. So it was like early mid-October that I went to go see her, and I'm going to insert a picture of my before brows, or you can also go to any of my old videos, like any of my old tutorials, not videos, but my tutorials where I start off with a blank face and you can see what little amount of brow and how light they were. So I don't have anything on right now. This is my blank brows, absolutely nothing on. So let me go through the process with you. So let me just start off by saying this was my experience. I'm not sure if this is going to be the same for everybody. A lot of people do things differently. So I'm just gonna tell you what my exact experience was. So if yours is different, you know, what can I say? I would assume that this would be pretty normal. What she did first was she drew a brow shape for me. And she gave me a mirror and she had like an Anastasia pencil and she drew the brow shape and she drew some markings. I'm gonna post a picture of that as well. So once she drew the brow shape, she gave me a mirror and she made sure that I was happy with the shape, that I felt that they were even, that like the point was even. She took a ruler and kind of went like this to make sure that they were level, and you know, she was pretty meticulous in making sure that they were even. So she started with so then I laid back down and she put some numbing cream on me. She said it was like a natural numbing cream, and I don't think it worked that great. It didn't hurt horribly, but it wasn't comfortable. I mean, it wasn't, I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, that first time it was about a 4 pain level. So it was tolerable. I mean, a lot of you know I've had my lips done and I didn't find that really painful at all. And the girl who does my lips, she just, I mean, I've only had it done once, believe it or not. A lot of people think I do it like every 3 months or something, but no, I've only had it done once over a year ago. And she took the ice and she would, you know, ice an area and then you know, inject and ice and inject, no numbing cream, no nothing. And I thought that was no big deal. So this was actually a little bit more painful to me. It took about, I want to say about 45 minutes for her to do both brows. She does like one pass and then I would sit up and she would give me a mirror and then I would lay back down and then she would do another pass. And then what she did is put a ton of Aquaphor on my brows and told me that basically for the next 3 to 4 days, I was gonna need to constantly have Aquaphor or some sort of healing ointment on my brows. Now let me backtrack for a second. We did go over some colors, like she showed me swatches of colors, and we went with a combination of a light one and a darker one because I was afraid that the light would fade too quickly and that the dark would be too dark. So we did a combination of the two for that first go around. So when she was done and I sat up and I took a look at the brows, I was really, really happy with what she had done. I loved the shape. I loved the darkness that we had gone. And I will say though that my brows were kind of sore, and the ride home, because she was about 30 minutes away from my house, I did feel like a little bit of pain, like just soreness and a little bit of stinging. And I felt like everybody was looking at my brows like they were just bright red and they had this ointment on them. So I'd gone to lunch afterwards, just, you know, 'cause I'd been there for about, I'd say the whole appointment took maybe a little over like an hour and a half or so. So I was starving, so I went to get lunch and I was like, felt like everybody was just staring at my brows. But the next morning I woke up and I was so happy because they were just there. They were perfect. I didn't have to do a thing. Then I would say about a week or so in, they started flaking, and maybe not even a week, maybe like five-ish days in, they started flaking. And that was a little annoying because you kind of want to like flick it out, but you're really not supposed to pick at it. So I just try to let it go and not touch it. I would put a little bit of brow powder in, like just lightly put brow powder. I didn't want to press with a pencil or anything. So then after about, I would say like the 10th day is when they say that they're healed. I was really disappointed, to be honest. I didn't really feel like it had lasted. Like I felt like the pigment was pretty much gone. They didn't look that different. I still had to fill them in every single day with a pencil. I mean, that morning after where I woke up and they were perfect, that wasn't happening anymore. They were back to being very light and just me needing to do a lot to them to get them look good. So I was kind of bummed out. And then what was strange is around at the 2-week mark, some of the color kind of came back. Not all the color, it was very, very strange. And so I texted the girl who did my brows and she said that was normal. They kind of disappear and then it kind of comes back. So there wasn't really any explanation for why that happens, but I have heard other people say that same thing did happen where the color kind of came back a little. So at least I was happy with that. At least what it did for me was that I could still see the shape that she had done. So instead of every day kind of freehanding the shape that I wanted, and sometimes they look good and sometimes they didn't, it was almost like having a permanent stencil on my brow. So I could really figure out the shape pretty easily. Probably by around the 4-week mark, because she said you could come in for a touch-up like around 4 weeks, and I knew I was gonna need a touch-up because I'm like, this is not worth the money I paid to just have this little bit of a change. So around the 4-week mark, I texted her. She couldn't get me in until about 2 weeks ago. So, which was the 6-week mark between the visits. And I stupidly thought that, oh, you know, it's already been done. It's gonna be less pain than the first time. No big deal. She's just doing a touch-up. Well, it was basically like the same process all over again. Stenciling the brows, measuring them. This time we decided to go with the darker color. Instead of mixing the two, we just went right with the darker color because we decided that was just gonna be, you know, if they're gonna fade, they might look a little bit dark at first, but being that my brows, you know, faded a lot, that we should go with the darker color. So that's what she did. And oh my God, it was really, really painful, you guys, like really painful. And I don't consider myself somebody who has a low tolerance for pain. I consider myself to have a pretty high tolerance to pain. Once again, I mean, I've had lip injections, no numbing cream, no big deal. I've had breast implant surgery. That was about 12 years ago. I've had 2 C-sections. Nope, I mean, I have a high tolerance for pain and this hurt. And the reason why she said that it hurt is because your brows are still traumatized from the last time. I mean, you're basically recutting skin that was cut. I could barely make it through. Honestly, I was taking deep breaths. I was practicing yoga breathing. I could not wait till it was over. And this numbing cream she uses was worthless. I don't know if you, like, I honestly would have preferred to have shots of like whatever they put in your mouth when you get worked on your teeth. Like, also I've had fillings with no numbing at all. So, I mean, for this to really hurt me was, you know, something serious. So I just could not wait till it was over. And the whole time I'm thinking, God, this better be worth it. This better be worth it. And so now cut to, you know, 2 weeks later, they're pretty much healed. I really didn't have that flaking as much as I had last time. They do also itch a little bit and you really can't itch them. So you have to use, she recommended, I think it was witch hazel. I never really purchased the witch hazel because I would kind of like itch around it, like on top and bottom, but I never like scratch my brows. But oh my God, let me tell you, when I left, you know, I said the first time when I left, I was in a little bit of pain. The second time when I left, oh my God, if you follow me on Snapchat, I was complaining like so much. And I took ibuprofen and that helped. But if you like accidentally touch your brow or scratch your brow, oh my gosh, that really, really hurts. So anyway, it's 2 weeks later now. I have, like I said, nothing in my brows. Am I happy with it? Yes and no. Yes, I'm happy with it because now with the touch-up, I feel like I can go out like this and look okay instead of feeling like, even when I went to the gym, I felt like I would have to put on my brows because it would just, the brows frame your face and and being that I'm so light again in the lashes and all that, I feel like this gives me a little more confidence to just go out of the house as is. The problem is when you look up close to my brows, and yeah, I have a lot of eye makeup on right now, but I don't know if you can see, but there's some like just a greenish tint and there's like some, I don't know, they just don't look like, you know, natural. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know if I was expecting like a really beautiful looking full natural brow, because that's definitely not what I got. I still, you know, if I were doing this video about something else, not about microblading where I wanted to show you them bare, I would have definitely filled them in. I still fill them in when I go out at night. I still fill them in pretty much on a regular basis. But as I said before, it's kind of like a stencil. It's having like a permanent stencil on your brow. So it does make it a lot easier to fill them in because you just have the shape right there. You don't have to worry about, you know, where to start, or, you know, even though you do your brows every single day, or I do, still it's like doing winged eyeliner every day. Some days they come out perfect and you're so proud of yourself, and then other times you're like, oh, this is awful. So for that reason, it was money well spent, sort of, because I didn't pay full price for mine. I'm not sure what the prices are in your area, but around here in Las Vegas, it is about, from what I've researched, around $350 plus for the initial go around. And then some places charge $50 for the touch-up, some places charge $75 for the touch-up. So you are looking at least a $400 investment for something that lasts a year and a half to 2 years. But I don't know that yet. So that's another issue for me to tell you whether or not I would recommend it, because I don't know if it's gonna last the 18 months to 2 years. Obviously, I'm gonna follow up with you guys on this, but I just don't know. I think for what I paid, would I say it's worth it? Yeah, I guess so, because I mean, I paid more for Botox and that lasts me like 8 weeks. So, but then again, Botox, you know, like evens out my eyes, makes me less hooded and all that. So I don't know. I would say this, if you are somebody, because I have talked to other people that have done it, you know, people have contacted me on my Snapchat, have been really helpful and kind of told me what to prepare for, or commiserated with me when I was in so much pain. But I did hear like one of the people that commented to me said that she had no eyebrows at all from suffering from alopecia. So in her case, it's just a must. It's just a godsend. So I completely understand that. If you're someone who has no brows at all and you just want something, it's definitely worth it. Or say you are somebody who already has a nice brow, but you want a little more even or a little bit more full, but you already have color in your brows. You're not one of those people like myself that has to fill in your brows every single day. Then it might be worth it for you. But if you're like me, where you just have light brows and not by anything other than the fact that you're just genetically blonde or have, you know, tiny, thin brows, if you can afford it, I would say try it, because it is helpful. It is a time saver. It doesn't cut out my having to do my brows completely, but it does shave off a good amount of time for me. So in addition to those thoughts on cost and, you know, if it's worth it, the other issue is your pain tolerance. If you are someone who doesn't do well with pain, do not do this. Do not do this. Even now, I think back on the pain and I'm like, ooh, would I do this again? I just don't know. I can't say right now if I would, because for me, it was pretty darn painful. So once again, if you're someone with a high pain tolerance, but again, I consider myself someone with high pain tolerance. So with that, I'm not sure. Maybe, you know, I'm only one person, one experience. Maybe you could call around in your area. Maybe there's a lot more people that are doing microblading. You could have a consultation and say, hey, what do you use for, you know, numbing, and what are your clients saying about it? What are their experiences in regards to the pain tolerance or how painful it is? So there you have it. That is my entire microblading experience. I hope I covered everything, you know, the cost, the pain, was it worth it? I will leave a bunch of information in the description box. Let me know, of course, if you have any questions, comments. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. It means so much to me. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, where you can see me, you know, on occasions where I get this stuff like this done and I'm crying afterwards. If you're interested in seeing that, that's on Snapchat. Also, Risa Does Makeup. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.